everybody, this is Rob here, and I have had numerous requests for the ingredients and how to make my kale salad. So today I'm going to show you one of my favorite salads. I usually bring it to all our barbecues and parties that we go to. So I'm just going to go over the ingredients real quick. Mainly it's a kale salad. Today I have 3 bunches because these bunches are a little bit on the small side, but usually 2 bunches for 1 bunch of cilantro. We have either a half to a full lemon, depending on your taste. We're going to use about 6 cloves of garlic, probably 3 to 6 tablespoons of grated Parmesan cheese. And then for the seasonings, we've got olive oil. This is extra virgin olive oil. We've got regular olive oil. This is just plain old non-extra virgin olive oil. So we mix the 2. We've got blackened, aged balsamic vinegar here, salt and pepper. We've actually got a glazed, I'll turn it upside down here. This is a glazed balsamic vinegar. And then optional to taste is some crushed red pepper and a little bit of chili powder. So I'm gonna go over the steps. We'll come back once we're done, but I'm gonna devine or take the vein out of all of the kale so that we're left with just the soft portion. We're going to take the stems, or most of the stems, off of the cilantro. So I'm going to de-stem this stuff first, and then we'll wash it, and then I'll come back and show you how we mix everything together. Okay. All right, guys. So normally what I do is I keep a big bag or something next to me because there's going to be a lot of waste here. I usually cut off at the main stalk. All this is trash. And then what I do on this kale, if you want to come up here a little bit closer so you can see, is you'll see this rigid line running down the back is pretty hard and tough. So typically what I'll do is I'll take my knife and go right along this, cut it, and get most of this hard vine out. If there's any like leaf there, I'll try to take off as much of the soft part and pull it off sometimes. Sometimes the very tip is not very leafy, I'll pull that off. But you want to get rid of all this. You can hear how hard it is. It crunches in the mouth. And what you'll be left with is the soft part of the kale. Got it. You want to thoroughly wash the kale, soaking it in water. And then we don't want to have wet kale here, so we actually have a spinner. If you don't have a spinner, you can put the kale on some napkins and press down the napkins. You can see by doing a little bit of spin. Take it out. Lift the basket. See how much water came out of that little spin. Maybe give it a second spin. You want nice dry kale. Hi, honey. You throw that right into the big pot.
It becomes easier to spin after the first rinse because it's heavy. Okay, look at that. We're done here.
All right, we'll transfer that into the large pan. I want to show them. Hold on, no, don't cover it. So we have a large bowl here that we transfer. This is, I was gonna do the 3 bunches, but the 2 bunches looks like it's actually enough.
two
So you want
bunches.
nice dry kale. So we're still gotta clean the cilantro. So I'm gonna show you what I do with the cilantro now. Okay, so with the cilantro, I used to be really meticulous about getting rid of all the stems, and I don't do that anymore. I just wanna get rid of most of the stems. So I cut most of the stems. If there's any leaves in here, try to save the leaves, but most of this is garbage. So any
And most
leaves,
importantly, clean off the soil. Sometimes
we're gonna clean it, we're gonna wash it.
The
honey.
soil
It's gonna
around.
get washed just like the kale does. All right, so this is all garbage. And then I kind of open this up to see if there's any, I can see another thing here. Mostly stems, I'm gonna cut that out. Again, not going crazy, just wanna cut out a good portion of the stems. And a little bit of stem is not bad. Just don't want the stems to overpower the leaves. Sometimes I'll just pull. I see long stems here. You can just separate those with your hands. This portion by itself used to take me forever, and then when I started using a little machine that I'm going to show you in a minute, this became less important because it really pulverizes the cilantro. Stem it all. Okay, honey, let's get this into the spinner. Okay, so the next step is I gotta actually cut the kale. I don't want this kale to be in huge, big leaves like this. We want it in smaller, bite-sized kind of chunks. So usually what I do is I crunch it together like this, and I slice.
Be careful with your fingers.
So I'm cutting it about, I would say every ½ inch or so. Really reducing the size of the kale. I just kind of smashed it together. And I cut through. If it gets it too much, I'll take my knife and kind of just cut through this way. So you'll see this kale is much smaller in volume, or size anyway. And we're gonna mish it back all up, but I usually do little bunches at a time, put it back in the tray, and then when I'm ready to mix everything, I put it back in here. So I'm gonna continue cutting this. Once it's cut up to about this size, we'll come back and show you how we start preparing the cilantro mix and adding the rest of the ingredients. So I'm almost done chopping up the kale. See, this is gonna fill up about 2 small trays. You can see the consistency change. The kale, we have no more of these kind of like large pieces anymore. Almost done here. Sometimes I'll just kind of spread it out on my chopping block. Just cut through different patterns, just so I can get pretty satisfied with this so far. So you can see once I add this in, once you start adding in the liquid ingredients, it kind of weighs this down. So it looks nice and fluffy now, but it's actually gonna sink. So you'll see here I have about 2 full trays worth. Now, I'm gonna transfer this back into my mixing bowl. It's kind of hard once I have this all together. I'm gonna have to kind of like massage this around. Very difficult to do in these trays. So you need a big kind of pot. And as you're cutting, sometimes you'll see little pieces of the vein that you might have missed. Just take those out, throw them out, inspect your kale there. But this looks nice and pretty so far. So one thing I will do is start adding the lemon. I'm not a cook, I have no proof, but I think the acid in the lemon juice starts to break or wear down the kale a little bit and soften it. So one thing is, you don't want to like make this and serve it right away. You kind of want to make sure you're making this and letting it sit for a couple of hours in the mixture. So make sure you don't get any of these little lemon pits. Little lemon pits. So for this much kale, I actually think I'm going to use a little bit more than one half of the lemon. Let's see some little pits.
Oh.
Alright guys, so when I squeezed the lemon by itself and I didn't have a lemon shield or anything, you can still see I'm picking out some of these pits here. Another option, and I've used this before in the past, is to just have like a lemon squeezer. Sometimes the pits will come out, but not as much. So probably should have done that to begin with. Okay, so now we're gonna move on to, I'm gonna kind of massage this lemon and let this lemon sit in the kale for a couple of minutes while I start preparing some of the other ingredients to add in here. So now the full bunch of cilantro is going to get used up here. I like to use, this machine has been wonderful. It's a little ninja kind of like mini food processor. So here we're going to take about 6 cloves of garlic. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If you like a little bit more, you can use a little bit more. If you like a little bit less, you can put a little less. I added it up. All right, 6, 7 cloves of garlic go in there. Now I'm gonna take my cilantro and I'm gonna stuff it in here. I love the way this stuff smells. So I like to smash up my cilantro. Just stuff it down in here. Cilantro, guys, needs to be washed as well. You see, we spun it and did the same cleaning process that we did for the kale. Cilantro tends to have a lot of dirt on it. Okay, now I'm going to add, this is regular olive oil, okay? How much? I don't know, probably about a half of a cup when it's all said and done. It's a lot. So I wonder if there's some measurements on here. That says about 6 ounces, but there's, or almost 8 ounces, but there's other stuff in here, so it's probably a little bit less. I would think that's about a half of a cup. I put my lid back on here, and this is going to pulverize this and make it into a nice, like, covering, oily, slurry,
Puree,
I don't even know
like
what you would call
puree,
it.
kinda?
Yeah, so let's just, I'll show you what it looks like. Now I don't want it completely liquefied. I don't want the, if you take a look, this is kind of like perfect, okay? You can still see
Yummy.
chunks of the garlic. You can still see chunks of the cilantro.
Smells good.
God, it smells like heaven. Now this is going to get poured and mixed into our kale. Just. just pour it on top. sometimes I'll take some of the kale and use that as a little sponge to wipe out whatever excess is in here. Got most of it out. So here we're gonna get our first mix. So I wanna get some of the kale that's on the bottom. Just kind of like move the kale over. Grab what's ever on the bottom, put it on the top. This is a lot of kale, guys, so it gets a little messy. Okay, so now I'm going to come with my extra virgin olive oil, and I'm just pouring some over the top. So I go left to right, back and forth. It's a generous amount of olive oil.
Extra virgin.
Now when I do this olive oil, I'll give it a quick spin. And right after I do the olive oil, I'm going to start putting in some of the dry seasonings. So let's just mix in this olive oil. All right, guys, so now Parmesan cheese. Get a good, quality. This one has been aged 10 months. I keep it in the freezer. You can get your own Parmesan cheese. It's a little expensive and grated, but So here, let's see, I'm gonna sprinkle on 1. 2. 3 heaping tablespoons of the Parmesan cheese. And continue to mix. So the Parmesan cheese, once you kind of mix this in, will fold into the liquids and almost like disappear. You won't even be able to tell that there's Parmesan grated cheese on here. Okay, we're getting close. We're getting close. So now I'm going to add in some of my other dry ingredients. Salt. This is pink Himalayan sea salt. Black pepper. A little bit of chili powder. This is just a tad. And some of my chili flakes, again, to taste. I only throw in a sprinkle. And every time we throw in a couple of ingredients, we mix. We really want to make sure we're pulling up whatever kale from the bottom, twisting it so that the ingredients really get spread and distributed throughout the kale salad. So I like to taste it without the vinegar first. So I'll take a little piece and see how close we are. A little dry. I'm going to add a little bit more regular olive oil and some more extra virgin olive oil. And I am going to add in the rest of this lemon juice. Here I can squeeze out. gonna really give this a good mixing. This salad is not for the faint of heart. It's a lot of preparation, a lot of mixing. My arm is getting a little tired. Now, let's give it another little taste. Much closer. So now I'm going to add just a tad of the aged balsamic vinegar. And this glaze is a little sweet, so it takes off some of the edge. So I just don't kill it with the glaze, just
A drizzle.
coming out.
We're at the end of the bottle here.
Yeah, there we go. This usually comes out nice and thin. And I think I'm going to add one more scoop of the Parmesan cheese. So, not an exact science, a little bit of an art. And feel free to kind of create your own variations of this. This was, you know, I got the basic recipe from somebody at a party we went to, and then I kind of just built on it and added things and subtracted things as I see fit. But we're pretty much there, guys. We're almost there. I'm gonna keep mixing it and distribute it, and we'll show you what the end product looks like. Okay, guys, so I decided I wanted a little more garlicky flavor out of this, so I put a little bit of olive oil and some, let's see, 3 more pieces of garlic. So I put a fair amount of garlic oil in here. You can see the key to this thing is you want to make sure that the leaves are soft, not dry. And I'm probably going to add another scoop of the Parmesan cheese. And again, the Parmesan cheese gives you a little bit of saltiness, a little bit of flavor. And I think now we're gonna get close to being done here. So add a little more garlic, a little more oil, a little more cheese, and I think we're getting there. So you'll be able to tell that when you're getting close to being done, when you start flipping it, it doesn't kind of jump out of the bowl. When it's
Soaked.
yeah, when it's wet like this, it becomes more stationary. When you're first turning it over and it's dry, you'll see pieces fly out of the bowl here, but here I'm able to pick this up and drop it. It's just falling right in. So I'm gonna give it a taste test. Right here in about 1 minute. All right, let's see. The kale doesn't taste bitter. You taste the olive oil, the garlic, the salt. Honey, you want to taste it?
Yes.
Come. Okay, guys, this is party ready. I've tasted it, made my adjustments. Again, everything is to your liking. The key factors here is that the kale is wet, heavy, saturated. When you taste the kale, it's not bitter at all. So this should, I don't know if you remember how high was piling up before, but we're gonna do this here. One for you, one for me. put some aluminum foil on top of this, and you're ready to go. So, pan back up this way. So just remember, kale, cilantro, lemon, garlic, salt, pepper, Parmesan oregano cheese, both extra virgin olive oil and regular olive oil, aged vinegar, balsamic vinegar, glaze if you have it. I said the cilantro, right? Salt, pepper, the crushed red pepper, and the chili pepper is to taste. If you have one of these little blending machines to put the cilantro, the garlic, and the oil, that makes life a lot easier. And I hope you enjoy.